What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. Now, I am on a brand new setup, so this should be looking a lot better. I'm going to try streaming without my software open. I shouldn't need it open because I got a brand new computer. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, then you guys might not know that, but I got a huge upgrade. So in terms of the quality of some of the content, in terms of some of the stuff I can do with this stream, it's going to get a lot better over the next couple of weeks. I'm working on some graphics packages. It should look really, really nice. I'll end up hooking up a DLSR camera as my webcam instead of what I got now, so then it will look even better. But I think I look really good right now in this 1080p. So do you guys think this looks better? Let me know. But I'm excited to start streaming on this new computer, despite the fact that the Blazers are still struggling. I'll get into that. It's just I gotta give a huge shout out to my mother who bought me this. So huge shout out to my mother who gifted this for me for Christmas. Go follow me on Twitter. Go check one of my pictures that I recently tweeted. I tweeted out a picture of my setup. It looks beautiful. We'll get Eric in on the post-game show. This was an interesting game. But yeah, the People's Mix, is it actually in 60 FPS? If it's in 60 FPS, then that's something that I didn't even think was happening. So if it's actually running smoothly in 60 FPS, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I'll get some graphics on this thing, and I'll get some different things on this post-game show, and it will look absolutely amazing. I want to make this as entertaining as possible for you guys, win or loss. There's been too many losses lately. A couple games in a row that we dropped. One against the Pelicans. I didn't end up doing a post-game stream for that. I wasn't in the right headspace. And honestly, I needed this computer upgrade just to be able to take what I'm doing to the next level. Like, I'm so excited to stream again. Like, I'm so excited to stream. I'm able to read your comments right here without having my software open. I see that $14 Dame Dollar super chat. He says, starting off this stream right. The cam looks great. Let's get the rap, boys. If you guys donate $100 in a stream, I'll drop a rap song, even though that's not what I do. It'll probably sound bad, but that's the deal I've made with you guys if you drop $100 in donations on one stream. So that's a good start with Dame Dollar with the $14 super chat. So, yeah, I'll get into this game, but I'm excited. I'm excited to stream now, and some of the stuff I'm going to be doing, there should be like an upgrade every stream, so just stay tuned. Make sure you guys keep tuning in with these streams because they're going to get better and better, and I want it to be as quality as anything else out there. Even if it's like a big company like NBC Sports Northwest, I want what I do to be just as quality. Probably should have moved my hamper because that's obviously not the most professional thing, but you know, we're going to get better as the new year comes in. So let me get Eric on here. I got to open up Skype, but I should be able to keep my webcam on. Also, I'm gonna take a picture of my setup, and I can actually put it on the stream pretty easily now. Alrighty here. Let me know if my mic cuts out too. All right, Eric, I'm gonna call you. Make sure my desktop audio's off. Dame Dollar finally got a hold of his parents' credit card, lol. That mellow shot, though, shaking my head. Did he get fouled? I'll get into that. We'll get into this game. It'll be easier with Eric because he'll probably remember plays that I forgot, and I'll probably remember plays that he forgot. Ink Double D says, hey, man, respectable Sixers fan here, but that shootout was insane at the end. They came back from 23-point deficit, and I'm giving them credit even with the loss. Yeah, that was a hell of a shootout. I wish they played better during the first three quarters. It was very frustrating the way they played during the first three quarters. I thought that they made a lot of mistakes that they shouldn't be making, a lot of the stuff that we've talked about in the past, and it caused them to really struggle there down the stretch. So I got Eric in the call, but I don't hear him. I don't know if his mic isn't connected or what. I'm trying to figure this out here. I haven't done a Skype call yet, so I'm figuring this out on the fly. I haven't done a Skype call on this computer. But I cannot hear Eric. Eric, let me know what's up in the chat. Mr. Sampson says, and before we get slapped by the Lakers unless LBJ and Davis don't play, I heard LeBron James might not play that game, which would be awesome for the Blazers. If Anthony Davis doesn't play either, that's a game we should definitely win that we otherwise were looking at being a loss, and we need to pick up a win right now. Eric can hear me, but I can't hear you. Is your mic and everything connected, Eric? We troubleshooting live on air for you guys. 1 second. This is gonna be a good post game stream. Because this was a perfect game to talk about because there's positives. Whoa. There's the Skype ringtone. I don't know if you guys heard that. I'm confused as to why I can't hear Eric. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, you good. So yeah, what the problem was my speakers or my headphones aren't like registering right. I had to change it in Skype. So hopefully we should be good. But let me just set you up. I forgot to set up your capture. This should be good. Alrighty. So I think everybody can hear you now. I think we're good to go.
Hey everyone.
So stream looking good, man.
Stream looks great, man.
Dude, I'm excited.
Congrats on the computer.
Yeah, huge shout out to my mother, man, because she hooked it up. So, I told her that there's gonna be much more than just me happy with it. I knew that the people watching this would be happy with this, and some of the graphics I've been working on for you guys is gonna be absolutely amazing. Like, it's gonna look professional. It's gonna look great. So I'm very, very excited for that. Let me show you guys what I got here real quick. Let me show you guys this setup. I'm gonna take a picture right here, and I'm going to get it to the stream. Let's see how fast I can do this.
So you had no idea?
No idea about what?
Getting a computer?
No, I had a feeling, but I felt like, because I'm always asked, my family's big on gift giving. You know what I mean? I'm pretty lucky. Yeah. I've been pretty lucky growing up. But like, the only thing I really wanted or needed was just a PC setup, just for doing this type of stuff. And I told my mom, I was like, honestly, like a PC, like a good PC would be huge, but I know it's a lot. And I figured it was too much, I figured it was too much to ask for. So I was surprised when I got it. You know what I mean? That's why I was kind of hinting like it might get better after Christmas. I've been kind of teasing that for a while. That's why. And I was so happy to get this thing. Like, we're gonna start popping off. So let me show, dude. Just like, I love the keyboard I got with it. I gotta upload this picture to the cloud, and then I'll download it, and then I'll show you guys my setup, man, because it's absolutely amazing. And then we'll get into this game. We got a lot to talk about from this game as well. This is going to be a pretty in-depth post-game show. I was trying to like pay attention to certain things this game. I watch on YouTube TV, and what I like about that, usually I watch on my phone. What I like about that is you can rewind 15 seconds, and then you can fast forward 15 seconds. So if we give up a bucket, I'm like, how do we give up that bucket? I'll quickly rewind 15 seconds, see how we give up that bucket, then fast forward 15 seconds. Sometimes I miss things because they happen too fast, but I was trying to like figure out why we were giving up so many buckets, and I'll get into my analysis on that in a little bit.
I have a play in particular that I did that with too.
Did you? You can start off talking about that play while I get this up. Shout out to old Jakob House, who won't tell me if it's Jacob or Jakob, but send this to Mama Jones. I'll send her $20 in Norwegian cronies. Alrighty. I'll tell her. Doesn't YouTube TV have unlimited DVR as well? I don't know, but that could be clutch. I can't watch losses back. Some people will do that who are really diehard, like, people who cover the team, I guess. I don't know. Actually, you know what? I don't know anybody who does that. And if they do, their analysis doesn't really show. But I can't watch games back, man. It's too rough. I can't watch losses back. But yeah, Eric, let me know what play you're talking about. Let's get into things.
Well, this is towards the end of the game, and this is something we've been harping on all season about helping
I know
off
what
your
play you're
guy
talking about. I know what
when
play you're
you
talking about.
when you don't need to.
Yeah.
So, Donovan Mitchell passes the ball to Bogdanovich at the top of the key. Bogdanovich starts to drive on Simons. Simons is still in good position, has him in front of him. It doesn't need help or anything like that. CJ leaves Donovan Mitchell, goes down and helps anyway. Bogdanovich kicks out to Mitchell, 3-pointer, ball game, down 5.
Yep.
And it's just little details, and we've been talking about this all season. Little things like that cost you a game. Instead of getting a stop or a possible chance, you're down 5 all of a sudden, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about that. That's defensive positioning. That's an example of poor defensive positioning. Anfernee didn't need help. Anfernee's defense tonight was actually really, really impressive. He was impressive in all aspects. This was the Anfernee that we kind of saw earlier in the season, but it's been missing for a while. And it coincided with me dropping the mailbag about what can Anfernee do to improve? What does he need to do? What is he struggling with? And then all of a sudden he comes out and basically like proves that video right. If you guys haven't watched that mailbag, make sure you guys go watch it, because at the end of that mailbag I go into why Anfernee's been struggling and why he can't, and what he can improve on. And I thought this game was a perfect showcase of that. But Anfernee played great defense on Bogdanovich, and CJ didn't need to help, and for some reason he completely left Donovan Mitchell to help Simons when Simons didn't need help, and Mitchell got a wide open 3 because of it. And those types of defensive fundamentals we've been struggling with, and it ends up losing us games that we can win. This team is talented enough to beat teams like the Utah Jazz. I don't think that Jazz team was any more talented than the team we put out there tonight, but they were a far better coached team. We got hot. We got absolutely nuclear hot. We hit so many tough shots this game, and we still lost. That's a problem. You know what I mean? That's why it's like when we lose games because we don't hit shots, I'm not buying the, oh, we lost this game because we didn't make shots excuse. We go out there against a Utah Jazz team that I think we're just as talented as, and we hit some insanely tough shots. In terms of our shot selection, we shot great tonight. But we still lost the game because we didn't do the fundamentals. We didn't rotate defensively. We weren't in good position defensively. CJ, right before that possession where he overhelped onto Bogdanovich, had a play where he kind of fell asleep when Gobert had to save the ball from going out of bounds. Fell asleep on Bogdanovich in the corner and left him for a wide open 3. CJ was just kind of standing there watching the play happen. You can't do that. Gobert literally only had one option to save the ball to with a second left on the shot clock. CJ should have known that and been running to either take away that pass and knock it out of bounds, steal it, whatever. Or if he wasn't able to get a hand on it, at least he'd be closing out onto Bogdanovich, and that shot would have been insanely tough, and Bogdanovich would have had to shoot it. But CJ was just sitting there watching the play, which was a problem. And then next time down, another 3 given up because of CJ McCollum. And Rip City Project was tweeting out on Twitter. I like Rip City Project. I don't know who was running their account, though, tonight. I was not a fan of some of the stuff they're tweeting out. They were basically questioning, why is CJ getting heat right now? Well, it's like he just gave up 2 threes that he shouldn't have given up, and that cost us the game. We get those 2 stops, I think we win this game. But this team has shown that they're not clutch defensively, they struggle to get clutch stops, and they break down fundamentally on the defensive end in clutch time situations like that. And it happened once again. It was better, a lot better during the fourth quarter. There was a stretch where we played maybe some of the best defense of the season. We had good rotations, and it's like, where is this? Where has this been all season long? Where was this the first 3 quarters? And then, there
was also a rebound where I think it was Scal fell over and then Gobert chased it down and kicked out for a 3. And
I think that might have been the play I'm talking about, or it might have been a different play. I can't really remember. But it's just like, there was a point where we were outscoring them 26-7 in the fourth quarter because we got desperate because we were down 20. So then we started rotating. We started hustling on defense. That's another thing. I don't know why that effort isn't there, because the effort in the fourth quarter was far better than the effort in the first 3 quarters. I don't know why it's not there. We're not in a position. If we want to make the playoffs, we have to give better effort. But it's been something that we've been struggling with. I don't know why. We've never struggled with it this much. But, dude, like, I don't know. The defensive fundamentals have just been, they just haven't been there. And I'll get into the first 3 quarters because those were very frustrating to watch, and it's kind of more of the same. It's kind of what we're already talking about. But before I do that, let me show you guys something positive. Let me show you guys something positive here. Let's see here.
Yeah, there was actually 2 plays. So there was the one that they reviewed where it's lame that they can't review the foot on the line. They can only review the shot clock violation. But that
Mm-hmm.
was one where it was going off Gobert. But there was another play where there was a rebound towards the camera, and like our big fell down, and Gobert chased it down and kicked out for a three.
Yep. Yep. Anyway, that's my setup. That's my setup. Looks cool, huh?
You got a curved?
I got
Curved
curved
monitor?
monitor. I got
Nice.
the colorful keyboard came with the computer. Yeah, it's absolutely legit. So I got these beautiful colors. I feel a lot calmer. You know what I mean? Like that's a frustrating game, but I was watching it with the pretty colors. It changes underneath the keyboard, like it kind of runs through the different colors. Like
Yeah.
it looks so cool. And then the colors on the PC computer, they rotate through in a circle in those circles, and it just has such a calming effect to me, man. I'm feeling pretty calm even though we just lost. So that's a good thing. Colors, is that like a scientific thing that like colors make you feel calmer?
Certain colors, yeah, it's
Yeah, I don't know. I
pretty.
feel calm. The stream's running perfectly smoothly. I don't have to worry about it. It's awesome. Um, Nice electronics, but cheap. cheap cheap hamper. Yeah, I gotta fix that. There's no closet doors on these, so I gotta either like scoot over or something, but I am gonna get a background. I don't know why it's showing now. It wasn't showing before. Maybe the webcam's too far away. I don't know why it's showing. I had to move it on a higher shelf because this monitor is just
I
too tall
I
for
think
like
you're in
another shelf.
widescreen, so it's showing everything on the sides now.
I was right. I was widescreen before. But yeah, anyway. So that was a great comeback effort. You know, they hit shots that they shouldn't expect to hit. That's something that isn't really sustainable. You know what I mean? You shouldn't expect to hit shots at that rate, especially to bail out the entire
Yeah.
game. The fact that they made it competitive at the end was a good thing. You know, it was exciting. It's also a
So
bit of a letdown, but at this point in the season, I'm kind of expecting us to lose to any winning team we face. We literally haven't beat a winning team since October. But the first three quarters, we played so bad. And if we just played below average, like a little bit better, would it? We played so bad that if we just played like below average, we would have won. If that makes sense, because that's how bad we played the first three quarters. We played terribly, and we still almost won that game. And that goes to show, in my opinion, that this team is talented enough to beat winning teams. You know, maybe not the Clippers on the road, maybe not the Lakers on the road, but like we've been competitive against the Clippers and still had some of these problems. If we just played a better brand of basketball, if we just played better defense, if we rotated out to guys, if we didn't let Joe Ingles walk into 5 straight pull-up threes out of the pick and roll because of the way we were guarding it, then we would have won this game. If we didn't have CJ overhelping and in bad defensive possession twice in the last 2 minutes to give up threes, then I think we would have won this game. And it's problems like that I want to see them fixing. But for three quarters, they'll be terrible at these things. And then they'll flip a switch and they'll all of a sudden these things won't be a problem anymore, and they'll go on like a 26-7 run and get right back in the game. Can we just do this consistently, please? Please? We would be a good team. And then if we made upgrades at the trade deadline, we would be a great team. But we don't do these things. It's frustrating, man.
yeah, for sure. So I guess we cut it to like 6 at one point. It was like 40-42, I think, in the second quarter. And then they ended the quarter on a big run, and we got down like 12 or 14 or something at one point towards the end of that quarter. Just finishing quarters horrible again.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of funny. At halftime, I went with my wife to run over the two littlest kids I have are spending the night at my mom's house tonight. And so I was like, okay, perfect. Halftime, run them over there, get back in time. On her way back, she runs out of gas.
Do you need
And
some gas? Do you need some gas, buddy?
how is this even possible? Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Because she was in a hurry this morning and only got like 3 gallons of gas and one of those things. And so I spent most of the third quarter walking from her car to a gas station, and then luckily someone was nice enough to give me a ride back and all that stuff. So I get back to the car and we're down like 23 points. I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like screw this. And then so I get home and it was beginning of the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden they just go on this huge run. So I only got to watch the like cool part of the game, but
Yeah. I mean, I
I
honestly
was like listening to it.
wasn't like tuned into the run like I would have been if it came during the first half.
Right.
Shout out to Jakob Haus for uh the Norwegian cronies 20 crony donation. I think that's like a couple bucks, couple US dollars. So shout out to him. But yeah, I mean like I was in Twitter rant mode. I was in Twitter rant mode during that fourth quarter when
Nice.
they're making that comeback. I was in Twitter rant mode because I was so frustrated with the first three quarters. Which
Yeah.
that's my brand. I go on rants when we're losing on Twitter. I say what's happening out there, and I say what I feel like a lot of Blazer fans are feeling as well. I went, yeah, I was mid Twitter rant, so like I watched it, but I wasn't like completely locked into what was happening out there on the court like I was the first half because I was really trying to like analyze what exactly was happening out there in the first half. So yeah, it was just kind of like it was a little bit of a blur, that comeback, and it was fun. It was nice to have happen, but it almost made it more frustrating that we did not play well in the first 2 or 3 quarters. That we didn't show up the first 2 or 3 quarters. Because if we just showed up and played average basketball, we would have won this game by 10 or 15 with that fourth quarter run. I mean, maybe that run doesn't come if they weren't down 20, but still, like the problems we have. Okay, it started off with Joe Ingles absolutely crushing us, which he always does. He always crushes
Even though he
us.
struggled this season for the most
Yeah,
part.
he struggled, but I feel like he's bouncing back. He's played better his
Yeah.
past few games. That's not a guy who's going to be that inefficient all season long. For his career,
Right.
he's around a 40% three-point shooter, so that's a guy who can really shoot the ball. What was frustrating, man, is the way we guarded his pick and rolls when he was the ball handler during the first half. We let him walk into so many easy step-in, wide-open pull-up threes. And it's one thing with like Dame getting open because he's sprinting into his pull-up three so fast, but Ingles was literally walking into these pull-up threes, and we were letting him. And he hit like 4 or 5 in a row. Like I saw a tweet that said like he had more threes in the first quarter than we did our entire last game as a team because we only had 4 against the Pelicans, and it was like, well, you know what I mean? Yeah, props to Joe Ingles for shooting the hell out of the ball in the first quarter, but part of that was we were literally letting him walk into wide open threes, which is ridiculous. And we didn't change up the coverage. That's what frustrated me so much. We didn't change up the coverage. And it wasn't just his pull-up threes that were hurting us. There was multiple times where we were sagging the big, and we were trying to have Bazemore go over the screens. Gobert sets a great screen, so it's hard to go over. But because we were sagging the big, it let Joe Ingles get downhill, and he was able to get into the paint and force Whiteside to help onto him, and then he just shoveled off to Gobert, who's so long and big that he'd easily score around the rim, or he'd get fouled and then hit some free throws. So we were literally letting Ingles completely control their offense, completely dominate us just because of the way we were guarding the pick and roll, and we didn't change it up. We didn't really adjust. In the second half, I saw switching a bit more, but it's like that's seriously the only adjustment I think Terry Stotts knows on pick and roll defense is to just start switching guys, because like just try and hedge Whiteside. You know what I mean? Get the ball out of Ingles' hands. Hedge Whiteside. If he makes a play, he makes a play, but he's already literally either hitting a three or getting Gobert very easy looks around the rim every time on the pick and roll. So if we switch it up and he still is able to make things happen, then at least, okay, we switched it up. We tried something else, and the thing is, the way we were guarding him wasn't going to work. So switch it up. It might have a better result. It might have a better effect on that pick and roll. It might slow them down. You know what I mean? Like Ingles, if he sees a different look, he might not be ready to see that different look. So he might have to take some time to adjust. We might be able to slow him down. And then if he does adjust, then maybe switch it up again, try something else, maybe trap once in a while. You know what I mean? Like switch up the pick and roll schemes. It's been a huge complaint of mine of Terry Stotts for years, not just this year. I've been complaining about this for years. Yeah. But he doesn't switch it up. He doesn't adjust. He just doesn't do it.
I mean, our very first video, we talked about that, right?
Yeah.
Together about how it's not about just doing one thing every time. You have to be able to do multiple things. Each team is a little different. Each situation's a little different. Within a game, you have to be able to adjust to different things. You can't just have one thing and have it work on every team. That never works. So unless you have you'd have to have like the 5 best defenders in the NBA, and basically they'd just be doing what we do on offense and freelancing their defense. It wouldn't be coaching at that point, right?
Yeah. Dan Ortega will answer that in a little bit. We'll get into that.
And then, so to piggyback on your point, when we play pick and roll coverage the way we do, where Whiteside doesn't hedge those.
Yeah.
All you have to do on offense is just keep picking until one of the times, like if it's Dame or CJ, whoever's guarding ball, gets caught up in the pick. And then you're wide open, right?
Yeah.
So that's all you have to do. Because eventually he's going to be a second or two behind whoever's guarding him on like coming around the pick. And so like if you set a pick and he fights through and then you just reset the pick on the other side and he is a second trailing it or something, then you have a wide open three, right?
Yeah.
And that's so easy to get an open shot against that defense because they know what's coming. And so it's just a matter of when the guy's going to get picked off finally, you know?
You know what I don't understand is Dame abuses other defenses that play that style of defense. Like Dame makes a living off of defenses that guard the pick and roll that way. It's like Terry Stotts sees Dame making a living off of it, but for some reason thinks, okay, let's play that type of defense that Dame destroys. Let's play it on Joe Ingles and let him just watch him hit 5 threes in a row and don't switch it up. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it makes me lose my mind a bit on time. So then I'll go on my Twitter rant where it's like, why aren't we adjusting? Why aren't we trying something else? The thing is, people will tell me, well, Whiteside can't play anything else. We hedged here and there to start the season, which is what I've noticed about this team too under Terry Stotts. Like some of the things I'll complain about will be better to start the season, you know, the first like 2, 3, 4 games. It's like he made it a point of emphasis during the training camp, but then they get away from it and then they revert right back to the style that they always play. Hassan Whiteside hedged a little bit to start the season, especially that first game against the Denver Nuggets. And he looked good hedging. He was hedging the perfect amount. He was getting back to his guy recovering very well. And it was a great... It shut down pick and rolls. And I was watching this like, let's go. Terry Stotts is hedging the pick and roll with Hassan Whiteside, and it's working, and it looks good. But now it's like he won't even try it no matter what's happening out there on the court. Joe Ingles can walk into 5 straight threes, and he still won't try to hedge Hassan Whiteside. You know
I think
what
I think it's more likely that Whiteside was just doing what he instinctively used to do, and that he probably got in trouble for hedging him, you know. And then,
I mean, maybe, but Scal didn't really hedge when he came into the game, did he?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like Whiteside was just doing that because that's what he's used to doing. So,
you mean at the start of the season he was hedging because that's what he was used to doing?
He probably wasn't even supposed to hedge like that.
I don't think that was necessarily the case because they did have Zach Collins as the safety. So if you have one of the, you know what I mean? So people say, they don't do that. Yeah. But people will say, they don't do that because they don't have a rim protector. Or a rim protector behind Whiteside. You don't need a rim protector if you're able to shut down the pick and roll and not let them get downhill. And at least you might not let them walk into wide open threes. And Joe Ingles won't hit 5 straight wide open threes on you. So... You know, I really liked hedging. If we had Zach Collins, I'd be even more mad if we weren't hedging because the thing that they did is they would hedge Hassan Whiteside and they'd rotate Zach Collins down underneath the rim to be the rim protector in case they were able to get the ball out of that hedge and behind both defenders, and you'd still have an elite rim protector at the rim. You know, we definitely miss Collins there, but I don't think Terry Stotts would have this team hedge regardless of what the lineup was. If we still had Collins, I don't think he'd be having Whiteside hedge because he refuses to do it no matter how poor our pick and roll defense is. Just hedge him once, see what happens. You might get a stop, you might force a turnover, get a bucket the other way, change momentum. And the thing is, when you run the same pick and roll scheme, teams get comfortable. Okay, because they have the same look every time down the floor. They know exactly how you're going to guard them. They can make read after read after read and improve on those reads throughout the game. And when they get that level of comfort, they'll start hitting tough shots too. So even if you do start playing better defense, even if you do get out on shooters, they'll start hitting contested threes too. And we saw that Donovan Mitchell hitting tough contested jumpers. Jordan Clarkson had that sidestep jumper in the first half that he knocked down. They got comfortable and started hitting tough shots. And then it's like, okay, yeah, you can't blame the defense for that. They're making tough shots. You're playing good defense on that possession, but you let them get comfortable in the first place by only running one pick and roll scheme, letting guys walk into wide open threes, and that gave the whole team confidence and rhythm. So then they played off of that. You can't let them get comfortable to start games. We let teams get way too comfortable because we only run one scheme, and that's what hurt us in the first half.
It's too bad there's no way to play yourself. Because I would love to see Terry Stotts play our team with our team but
Yeah.
have like Nick Nurse or someone be the opposite coach,
Yeah.
and I want to see Stotts like guard Dame this way, like he guarded
Mm-hmm.
Donovan Mitchell and Joe
Mm-hmm.
Ingles and stuff.
Because
Like
Dame
just
would
let
have 50 and Stotts wouldn't adjust.
right, yeah. It happened last year against Memphis when Conley was just doing that every play, and like we
Yeah.
didn't change at all. We just let him
Mm-hmm.
shoot wide open shots the
It's
entire
not
game,
gonna
deep
change
into
it.
the fourth
Yeah.
quarter.
And that's why I'm not focused on injuries, man. It's like when we get these guys back, yeah, we'll be a better team. Yeah, we'll win some of these games. The guys that we get back will help cover for some of these deficiencies, but the deficiencies will still be there. The guys we get back are basically like some good makeup. You know what I mean? Like we can cover up some of the deficiencies, and we'll look better, we'll be better, but those deficiencies will still be there. A lot of people think that the deficiencies in terms of the coaching staff, in
Oh,
terms of the way we play, aren't there. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, we're just missing our guys. So we just need to get those guys back. It's not that simple. Those problems will still be there no matter how well how well Nurk, Collins, and Rodney Hood, how well they cover for these deficiencies. These deficiencies will still be there. They've been there in the past. I've been complaining about the same things for 3-4 years, and they popped up in the New Orleans sweep that we had a couple of years ago, and they were super evident on both sides of the floor in that New Orleans sweep. But then we make the Western Conference Finals, and we made it in spite of these deficiencies being there. You know what I mean? It didn't mean that, oh, we fixed things, because we didn't. OKC did not trap Dame. They guarded Dame like how Terry Stotts would guard Dame, and Dame went
right.
off against OKC. That's why Dame had such a great playoff series. He was motivated. It was against Westbrook. He wanted to make a statement, and they played soft pick and roll defense. Sometimes they tried to trap, but their traps were horrible. So they let Dame get going. If they played good trapping pick and roll defense, I don't think we would have made it out of the first round against the Oklahoma City Thunder. It also helped that Russell Westbrook was absolute garbage, but the way we were played, Billy Donovan is the worst coach in the league. He's worse than Stotts, in my opinion. Okay, so winning that first round series, I don't think that validated and completely nullified all my complaints about the way we play. And then the second round, we had Rodney Hood go absolutely nuclear. Okay, so our isolation offense, we were able to still kind of play that because they were guarding Rodney Hood with Jamal Murray. We were able to abuse that matchup. And his Cantor scored well around the rim. Like, yes, we won that series, but I still think these deficiencies are there, and I don't think they're going to be fixed when we get guys back. I still think that if we go up, if we're completely healthy and go up against a team that has defenders that can trap the pick and roll well, and they trap the pick and roll well, that we could get swept by another New Orleans Pelicans type team. I still think that's a distinct possibility no matter who we have.
That's why I wish we could do that hypothetical game, because what would the excuse be? You couldn't blame like lack of talent or injuries because you'd have the same players on both sides, right? So
Yeah.
it would be like all coaching pretty much, right? So and strategy and all that.
Yeah.
So it'd be incredible to see the people who just defend Stotts. So I saw someone tonight post, what is Stotts going to do? It would be like blaming the coach is like blaming, or like firing the coach would be like firing the captain of the Titanic as it's going down. And like, okay, so
I mean, if
we're
the
not allowed to
captain ran
criticize
into
him
the
at all.
iceberg, yeah, I mean, if the captain
Yeah,
ran
but
into the
it's
iceberg.
like, what does it matter what the coach is? It would be sinking no matter what. Like,
It's just people.
why do people think that way? Like, it just drives me crazy. Like,
it's just people that can't see the thing. I don't know. I mean, this is gonna come off as self-righteous or like patronizing, but there's people out there that can't notice poor defensive rotations, or don't really understand multiple different pick and roll schemes or things like that. There's some Stotts defenders that do too, you know what I mean? There's some Stotts defenders that are knowledgeable and they just look at things a different way, you know what I mean? I'm not here to tell anybody how they should think. I'm here to share my opinion and share the reasoning for it. But there's some people out there that don't see the things that we're able to notice. So that's what I want to do, is I want to help people be more aware of what's happening out there on the court. And if they still like Stotts, if they're still fine with the way this team is playing, but I'm helping them kind of learn about basketball, see more things out there on the floor, then fine. You know what I mean? It's the people out there who won't go into depth about things that are happening out there on the court. They won't listen objectively to people talk about things that are going out there on the court. The people like me who will see the Utah Jazz score. So then I'll rewind it and see exactly how they scored, and I'll do that multiple times throughout a half, and then I'll talk about what I see. There's people out there that'll completely shut that down, won't listen to it, won't even give it the light of day, and will basically say, you're crazy for thinking Stotts is a problem. It's obviously injuries, just surface level stuff. And that's the type of stuff that I can't stand, and that I know you can't stand as well. So that's why I'm glad I have a platform now, so I'm able to kind of speak out. I was DMing with Jacob. He still won't tell me what his name is. I don't know why I'm still saying both. But just please tell me how I pronounce your name, Jakob Hauge. I'd appreciate it, man. I know he's foreign, so usually they say it like Jakob. Yeah, I was having a DM conversation with him during the game, and he said something like I helped him realize some things, which is cool. You know what I mean? I helped enlighten him on some things. So that's what I love to hear. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to provide a deeper look at the team than you get with normal media. I don't know where I went
and once again, we know Stotts is not going to get fired, but it's almost like people think, like, what's the point of having a coach this year if we're not allowed to, like, criticize him or analyze the job he's doing with the players he has? Like, should he just go on vacation the rest of the year because, like, he has injuries? Like, no, like, it's more important to coach right now than ever before. Like, if you had a fully healthy team,
you look at
the coach wouldn't be needed as much.
Mm-hmm. You look at what Nick Nurse did with a 30-point comeback with a front court of Malcolm Miller, Chris Boucher, and Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, and that team came back from 30 points down. They don't have a Dame. They don't have a Whiteside in that lineup. They don't even really have a CJ in that lineup. They might not have a front court player as good as Melo in that lineup, and yet they're still able to come back down from 30 because Nick Nurse gets creative with his defensive scheme, starts pressing, and changes things up and makes the other team uncomfortable and turns that defense into offense and gets things rolling from there. And that's the thing. That's something that the Blazers, I don't think I'll ever say about a Terry Stotts-led Blazers team, which is sad.
This is all you need to know. During the finals last year, Nick Nurse tried a boxing one on Steph Curry. Yeah. Meanwhile, we let Steph Curry just shoot wide open threes.
we sagged the big. He came off screens and got wide open threes just like Joe Ingles did. And that's the thing. Terry Stotts finally made adjustments after game one of that series because the national media lit him up, dude. I've never seen a coach get lit up
that.
That
was the first time.
And I feel like the Stotts defenders were kind of like ignoring that. It was like the first time Stotts is on a huge stage, the Western Conference Finals. First game like that. After that game, the media is just absolutely crushing him. They were crushing him during the game. And it was like, on Blazers Twitter, I don't know if they heard it, but like I saw a lot of people saying, oh, they're being so unfair to Terry Stotts. The national media is being so unfair, like blah, blah, blah. They just love to hate on us. No, the national media is 100% right. You got ex-players who don't care to hate on us. Ex-NBA players saying, what in the world are they doing? And now it's that way this year as well, with us letting Joe Ingles walk into wide open threes. So it's gonna be frustrating, At least there's some positives from this game. CJ had a tough first half, but killed it in the second. But Anfernee Simons, let's talk about something positive, okay? Anfernee Simons had a great game tonight. I'm gonna pull up the box score here. Let me pull up the stats.
Real quick before you get to that. So another thing, since we're kind of talking about the preseason and trying new things, the lack of running and urgency on offense is driving me crazy too.
Yeah,
I noticed in the first half, and this might be a Dame thing, and I'm not trying to like kill him for this because it's just how he operates.
Yeah,
but every time he went and got the ball, he was going back towards the other team's basket, right? So like he goes to the ball or goes backwards when he catches the ball. And instead of going up the court where you get the ball and you have some momentum and you're, pushing the pace a little bit. And it's just, I get so frustrated because it's like, we don't really throw outlet passes or get our offense moving. We never get offense created when the defense isn't set. We let the defense run back and set up and get completely situated before we even attack. And it happens almost every time. And it just
with that, we're starting our offense with like 14, 15 on the shot clock because we get into it so slow. We're starting our offense with 14 or 15 left on the shot clock, wasting 9 or 10 seconds against a set defense instead of maybe putting the pressure on them. The thing is, when our half-court offense isn't working, we need to try and run, to try and switch things up, to try and put pressure on their defense, and to possibly get easier buckets that way. But as you say, we don't do that.
Yeah, it's like if you're going to run an ISO offense, like the best way to do that is to create mismatches through tempo to where you maybe get a big switched on you without even having to run a pick and roll or anything like that. Or, you push the ball up and you find someone open in the corner because the defense is kind of confused and stuff. And that's just something that was driving me crazy in this game. And it's been a thing for years.
But let's talk about something positive. This was probably the best bench performance we've had since Rodney Hood went down. This is the best bench performance we've had in a while. Anfernee killed it tonight. Anfernee had 15 points, 10 rebounds, shooting 7 for 9 from the field, 1 for 3 from three-point land. And he missed his first shot, which was a contested 3 with the shot clock running down. I don't blame him for that miss. And then he was 1 for 2 from 3 after that. He hit some mid-range jumpers. But what got him going, his first bucket, and I've talked to you about this. His first bucket, he attacked the rim, because it kind of got up on his mid-range pull-up, but he didn't really shy away from contact. He didn't try and do something too fancy. He didn't shoot a floater over the defender or anything. He got to the backboard and shot the ball kind of towards the backboard. Like he had to hold the ball over here to get away from the defense, but then he shot it towards the backboard instead of like flicking up something wild, which is something that I said he needs to do a better job of, and I feel like it could get his whole game going. So he made that layup, and the next time down, pull up 3, he knocks it down. And I was saying that if he starts finishing better, just finishing more aggressively, finishing stronger, then I think that could give him confidence to maybe knock down more jump shots, and then his whole offensive game would be better from there. So then he hits that pull-up 3. Then he starts hitting mid-range shots. Then he hits one of those floaters, and he actually, that was a good floater because it wasn't driving full speed. The defender was parked under the rim. He didn't have a lane to the rim, but he, drove in under control into that floater and knocked it down from around the free throw line. That's what I was talking about in my mailbag. And I thought he was fantastic tonight. In 28 minutes, he was a plus 22. Now, plus or minus, you can't base somebody how impactful they were on the team just based off of plus minus because they have 4 guys next to him that affects that heavily. But I think that plus minus is reflective of how well he was playing, but also his rebounding. 10 rebounds in 28 minutes. I've been talking about how the guards need to get in and crash the boards. There's times where the bigs will actually box out. The bigs will be battling in there, but the rebound will go over the top. They won't be able to get it, and our guards aren't doing a good enough job of crashing the boards and getting rebounds. The thing is you either want your guards to crash the boards and help bigs rebound, or you want them to leak out for possible fast break opportunities. We weren't doing either because we don't fast break, like we just talked about. But they also have a tough time. They don't really crash the boards and help out our bigs to rebound. They kind of stand around watching, and then they run up to the ball, get a handoff, walk it up the floor. So we're not leaking out for fast break points, and we're not having the guards help our bigs. So we're not doing either of those things. Anfernee tonight did exactly what I wanted to see our perimeter guys do, which is help our bigs rebound. If the ball goes over our big's head, if we have a guy like Scow or Whiteside or Mello, get a good box out, get inside position, the ball goes over, these guards need to go rebound the ball. You need to sandwich the big basically so that Scow or Whiteside or one of our bigs can get the rebound if it goes short, or one of our guards, one of our perimeter players can get the rebound if it goes long. Simons did that today. He had 10 rebounds in 28 minutes. First double-double of his career. That was phenomenal. So he was good in literally every aspect of the game tonight. He didn't have an assist, but he made a couple nice passes, and he didn't really force shots. You know what I mean? He took the shots that were there and played within the offense. Sometimes you won't have assists just because you have scoring opportunities for yourself there, and there's not really any passing opportunities. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a bad 0 assist. Sometimes there's a bad 0 assist. Sometimes it's fine. Context is needed with that. But defensively as well, I thought he played great tonight. I thought he had multiple possessions where he stayed in front of guys and stayed in front of Emmanuel Mudiay, would force him into tough mid-range shots. That possession where CJ left Donovan Mitchell for a wide open three. Anfernee had Bogdanovic cut off. Anfernee played great defense on that possession, and CJ came to like double or help out or something, even though it wasn't needed. And Donovan Mitchell hit that three to send the Jazz up 115 to 110 to basically put the game away. I thought his defense was great. I thought he was great in pretty much every aspect of the game tonight, which is very encouraging to see because of how much he's struggled.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really liked his game tonight. Hopefully he gets a little confidence back, because if he can score like this off the bench, that's something we've really needed lately, is just someone who can come in and get buckets off the bench. So hopefully he can build on this. There's a lot of stuff in the chat about not liking his jumper, it being prone to being streaky.
That's what you're going to get out of a young player, though. I think that's what you're going to get out of a young player. The fact that he can have nights where he shoots this well is encouraging, you know what I mean? Because I think as he ages, he'll become more consistent of a shooter. I guarantee you CJ and Dame at this age, if they were playing in the NBA, they would be just as streaky, if not more streaky, and probably wouldn't have these types of performances, because those guys were sophomores at small mid-major schools, you know, Lehigh and Weber State. They weren't as good as Anfernee is now. So, like, it's frustrating now. He'll have nights where he's just completely off and hurts the team. But in terms of the big picture, I don't think it says anything about him long term. The fact that he can have nights like this in his second NBA season at the age of 20 years old, when he didn't play a season in college, when he barely played last year, that's super encouraging to me. He shows defensive potential. He shows potential in pretty much every aspect of the game, and he hasn't been putting it together the past month and a half, but I haven't given up on him. I'm hoping that he can have these types of performances, because we need a guard like this off the bench if we're going to be competitive, if we're going to have a chance at doing any damage in the playoffs. And I was kind of on board with, okay, if Anfernee keeps struggling, maybe we trade for a Derrick Rose as a third guard behind Dame and CJ. You know, if the season's lost, then yeah, keep developing Anfernee. But like, if we're really trying to make a run, we need either Anfernee to step up or a better third guard. Anfernee stepped up tonight. If he has nights like this more consistently, I'm not trading for anybody at the backup guard spot. Anfernee's fine there. You know what I mean? So, you know, if he still struggles, if he still like has long stretches like he's had in the past, then if we're in position to make a playoff run, I wouldn't mind upgrading that spot for maybe a season, allowing Anfernee a little bit more time to develop. But if he can put together nights like this, then he'll be great. You know what I mean? It's just you just kind of got to take what you get with him.
And Beavis Cleaver is saying it's a certain type of form thing. I'm a big proponent of, yes, certain forms are better than others, but anyone could be good if they practice their form, no matter how bad it looks, enough times, right?
I mean, it depends on the arc too. I think the biggest reason he's streaky is he doesn't get enough arc on his shot. So, you know, if it's like barely short, it's hitting front rim. If it's barely long, it's hitting back rim. You know, the angle of the basket. The opening to the basket is less if the shot's flatter. Right. You know, if the shot's going, I don't know how to explain this. If the shot's going straight down through the hoop, it has like the entire hoop to go through. If it's going like almost straight across, like it's
of course.
So that's the thing. I think he needs to get a little bit more arc on his shot. He has that low release point. His set point's low, but his release point is low. You look at somebody like Dame, he has a low set point, but he releases it high. So he's able to get it over defenders pretty easily, and he gets good arc on it. CJ has a higher set point and releases it pretty high. Dame has a lower set point, releases it high. Anfernee has a lower set point, but he releases it low. You'll look at it like his release point is about as high as his set point. Usually guys shoot it up. Anfernee shoots it like just pretty much straight forward almost. And he gets a lot of vertical on his jump shot. He jumps high on his jump shot. That's why he's able to get the lift needed to get it over the rim, even though he shoots it flat, even though he shoots it forward. I think he would be a very consistent, absolutely deadly shooter if he just got a little bit more arc. Just raise that release point. He doesn't have to raise his set point. His low set point's fine. He gets it off quick. He doesn't really have a problem getting shots off, which is helped by how much he jumps. He just needs to get that release point a little bit high, just to get a little bit more arc and to give himself a better opportunity to knock shots down, in my opinion, at a more consistent clip.
Yep.
But like in terms of his form's fine. Other than that, he just needs to get a little bit more arc. That's the only change I'd make. He has a smooth form, very smooth release, one motion shot. He's able to get it off the dribble like that. He's able to get it off the dribble very smoothly as well. Like I wouldn't make any change except for trying to get just a little bit more arc, just to give the ball a little bit better angle to go through the rim.
Yeah, for sure. Little tweaks is fine. I'm just saying, like, There's been some people with some pretty ugly form that if you practice enough time, you can
I
get good
mean,
at it. So like, I don't think like breaking down someone's release point and form is. I mean, yes, some that
yeah.
stuff does matter, but it's not the
Here,
end all be all to whether you're a good
yeah.
shooter.
Well, here's how I look at it. You want your jump shot to be the same exact movement down to the tenth of an inch. The same exact
Right.
movement every single time.
Mm.
Good form for most people makes it easier to replicate your form in the same way every single time. That's why having your elbow in uh, is good. It's more straight. Where if you have your elbow out, there's more like side to side variance, so your jump shot might not be the same. But there are people out there who can shoot with their elbow way out that are able to replicate their shot consistently. It's just tougher. I think it just takes more time to replicate it. You know what I mean? So like Anfernee's shot looks almost identically the same every single time. Like his shot, he shoots it the same exact way pretty much every single time. I just think his arc is so flat that any little mistake in his form makes it so that there's no chance the ball goes in because of how flat it is. Where you have guys like Dame and CJ who have more arc on their shot, and that gives them a little bit bigger window of margin for making errors in their form just because the ball has a wider angle
Have
to
you
go
ever
through.
watched Dame's shot like super slow motion up close on his hand?
Yeah, he holds the ball in his palm. Dame
Yeah,
actually
it's
takes his
so weird.
fingers off the ball. I wish I had a ball in here. I don't have a ball in here. But he
Yeah,
takes his fingers off the ball and like he gets it to a set point with his fingers on the ball. Then he like flexes his fingers back off the ball so the ball's resting in his palm, and then he like flicks his finger through it,
yeah.
which is interesting. It seems like it'd be really hard to replicate. I've actually messed around and tried to do that. It's so
Uh,
hard for me to replicate, but Dame's always been
yeah.
shooting like that. So that's like kind of to your point, like something I haven't seen anybody else do. It's hard
Mhm.
to replicate, but Dame is able to replicate it consistently. And for him, that's just like a feel thing. Like that's what feels good. He's able to get, snap his fingers through the ball basically and get it to come off his fingers the same way every time. So it's fine for him. Other people, it feels so weird to do that completely messes up their shot. So I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. I mean, like Steph Curry like flicks his thumb through the ball, which is a no from
Yeah.
shooting coaches. He flicks his thumb through the ball. Steph Curry like at his set point has his like hand basically on the side of the ball and he like flicks it through like that.
Hmm.
You guys should watch his shot in super slow mo. People will talk about how nice Steph Curry's form is, but his form isn't textbook at all. So he just replicates it every single time. He has put in so much time into shooting the ball that he's the best shooter ever. Part of that is genes, I guess. I don't know how genes would affect it, but you look at his brother and his dad. I mean, great shooters. But so I don't think he needs to change his form. And that there's so much for him to improve in his game anyway that shouldn't be a focus really. Maybe try and work on getting more arc, but the defensive outing he had tonight, I want to see more of that. I want to see him continue to try and make plays for others. He didn't get an assist tonight, but he had a nice pass to Trent in the corner. The pass was on the money, even though he like flipped it over his shoulder. It was just a little too soft. But like it was a flashy, good pass. But just try and knock down shots, get to the rim because that's the thing. He's so quick and so explosive. Like he had that fast break bucket on Joe Ingles that was beautiful. Like those types of moves he has in his bag. He just needs to use them and like attack the backboard instead of trying to like flick it up from here. If you're gonna extend the ball away, try and like get it moving towards the backboard, that type of thing.
Yep. But yeah,
So
it's encouraging to see him play well. Hopefully, it continues.
yeah, yep. Gary Trent Jr. hit a three and had a drive where he got to the rim, which looked good. And Reggie Miller after that said, "See, that's what the Blazers need to do more of. Get to the rim, especially when they don't have Ed Davis or Rudy Gobert in the game." And I was like, yes, thank you. That's what I've been saying. Jumpers aren't falling. We kind of struggled in the first quarter to knock down shots. We weren't really getting good jumpers. Start attacking the rim. It's different with Gobert in there. So I wasn't really complaining when Gobert was in there. But once Gobert's out of the game, attack that rim. Get to the rim, get layups. Gary Trent Jr. had a good drive, and he had another bucket. And then Scout had a good game. And he finished the game over Hassan Whiteside, which I think was the right move. Hassan just didn't seem inspired tonight. He just seemed slow, and I've been one of the biggest Hassan Whiteside defenders out of anybody, so you guys know I'm telling the truth on this. I told you guys Hassan would be fine even when he struggled. I told you guys Hassan isn't lazy even when he struggled. I told you guys, it was due to him being kind of banged up, and then once he got healthier, he went on a tear, and everybody's like, "Oh, is he better than Nurkic? Like, maybe we should keep Whiteside. Maybe we should just not trade him." Like, it's funny to see them flip flop. I've been on board with Hassan Whiteside all season long, but I think tonight more so than any game this season, he looked uninspired. And players will have those types of games. You know what I mean? They're human. You wish they wouldn't. There's some guys out there who don't. You know, Montrezl Harrell brings it every single night, but I'd say there's a decent amount of players that just mentally will have a game where they're just not there, and it's not even really their fault. They're just not like locked in. You know, maybe it's something with preparation, or maybe they got stuff going on in their lives. I mean, these guys are human, so it'll happen like that. So it was kind of frustrating to see him not play inspired basketball. But at the same time, I can kind of understand it. If it becomes a consistent thing, then it's a problem. Then you're not doing your job. But, I mean, you'll have bad days at work here and there, just like guys will have bad days on the floor and just not play inspired. So I thought Scal played better than Whiteside tonight. I thought Scal played inspired. Scal rebounded well. He had 7 rebounds in 26 minutes, which Whiteside only had 6 rebounds in 22 minutes. So that was about rebounding at the same rate. But I thought Scal finished well. He had 10 points on 4 for 6 shooting. He also had 3 assists. I think he did a decent job defending. Hassan Whiteside struggled defensively today. So I was.
He had that one hook shot where it rimmed in and out when I forgot if we were down like 2 or 4 at the time.
That would have been a huge shot, and he was frustrated with himself. That's a shot that he hits pretty consistently, and that's a shot that he was getting off over Gobert. He was getting that off comfortably, and it wasn't a forced shot. Like he played a good brand of basketball tonight. He was a plus 19. He had 10 points in 26 minutes. And the thing is, we've complained about Stotts not going with the guys who are playing better in a game. I think Stotts played this right down the stretch, playing Labissiere and Simons. Bazemore really, really struggled. Defensively, Bazemore's super overrated. I'm just going to come out and say that right now. Bazemore's so overrated defensively. In 24 minutes, Bazemore was at minus 23, 6 points, 2 for 7 from the field, 2 for 4 from three-point land, 5 rebounds, no assists, 3 turnovers. No assists and 3 turnovers. You can't have that. But defensively, dude, he left his guy. He fell asleep. He got back cut. He didn't rotate. He made every mistake in the book tonight. And defensively, he was our worst defender tonight, which is unacceptable from Kent Bazemore because that's the one thing he should be doing well. But he was horrible defensively tonight. He hasn't been good defensively this season. He's an overrated defender, in my opinion.
There was a play in the first half. I think it was Bogdanovich just went right to the rim, and he was just standing there asleep, and he got it and put it in for an easy 2.
Yeah, and I mean, he's like our starting small forward, and Anfernee's kind of like a smaller combo guard, but Anfernee isn't that much smaller than Kent Bazemore. Kent Bazemore's 6'4" with like a 6'10", 6'11" wingspan. He has super long arms, which makes up for him being 6'4" without shoes. That's the new measurement. Anfernee's 6'3" without shoes, with a little shorter wingspan. So it's a little bit more of a, if you just look at the height, it's only a 1 inch difference. It's a little bit more than that, but they're still close enough in size. It's just like, when Bazemore's having a game like that and not playing any defense whatsoever, screw it, just play Anfernee at small forward. Just play a 3-guard lineup with those guys. And Anfernee did a good job defending Bogdanovich. Bogdanovich was a perimeter player who doesn't really like to go inside and mix it up. Bogdanovich is he's been their starting power forward all season long, and Anfernee was guarding basically Utah's starting power forward and actually doing a decent job on him. Anfernee was doing a decent job defensively against whoever he was matched up against. You don't want Bogdanovich getting post-up position on Simons, but on the perimeter, Simons was a much, much better defender than Kent Bazemore today. And on the offensive end, he was in a different stratosphere offensively than Kent Bazemore today. So it was the right move to end with Scal and end with Simons. At this point, Simons has struggled. So, he could revert back to just playing awful. But if Simons starts to pick it up again, I might be on board with possibly starting Simons at small forward against certain lineups. Obviously, you can't do it against a LeBron. LeBron's kind of been point guard anyway, so I don't know. Just against certain matchups where Simons isn't completely overmatched by that position, I might be on board with with starting Simons, playing him like 30, 35 minutes per game. It's going to be good for his development. If he gets hot, he can completely like change a game. You know what I mean? Like he was 7 for 9 in 28 minutes tonight. I wish that he played 36 minutes because in terms of how well he's playing, if he played 36 minutes and Bazemore played less, we might have won this game. So
I'm
I don't know.
hoping like we have a trade or use our roster spots to make it so that's not necessarily needed, because either if we do that, I know you'd be staggering them at some point.
Yeah, because you got to have some scoring off the bench, and that would be all our
scoring off the bench.
Yeah,
but like
that'd be all our scoring in the starting lineup. So they stagger Melo already, and they stagger CJ already. So maybe you'd stagger Simons. I don't know. You just basically try and keep 2 of Dame, CJ, Simons, and Melo in the game at all times.
Yeah. I don't know. Might be something to look into.
Just against certain teams, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and the thing is, Stotts won't switch it up like that. He likes to keep one starting lineup no matter what, and that's basically like him as a coach. He likes to keep one defensive scheme no matter what. He doesn't switch up his offensive system from year to year at all. It's the same offense we've been seeing for the last 4 years, and he doesn't like to switch up starting lineups depending on matchup, even though I think that's the right thing to do right now. If you're playing against a team that has a small forward, if you're playing against a team, let's use the Utah Jazz as an example. Say Mike Conley was healthy and they were playing the starting lineup they've played earlier this year of Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, and Royce O'Neal, who's like 6'6" and not a threat offensively. That's the type of lineup you'd play 3 guards against. You don't play it against a team like the Clippers, who start Patrick Beverly, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Maurice Harkless, and Zubac. You don't play it against a lineup like that. You play it against a lineup where Simons won't get punished for being that third guard on the floor because your offense is going to be helped out by it as well. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to kind of go through other teams' starting lineups to see like what starting lineups you could get away with playing a 3-guard lineup against from the jump, and what lineups you would struggle with. Just to see like what I would do it against. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to do it against Milwaukee with Giannis, even if Chris Middleton's 6'7". I don't know. It'd be interesting to kind of go through some of these teams and see what lineups that would work against some of these bad teams, against like the Warriors. Glenn Robinson's 6'6" at small forward, pretty much a spot up shooter, a guy who I'd love to have, but like that's a lineup you'd play a 3-guard lineup against. Anyway.
Oh, so speaking of that, what's his name? Damian Lee.
Yeah.
Is that their guard?
Yeah.
So
isn't he on a 2-way contract still?
I didn't know this either, but yeah, apparently I heard today that he's also on a 2-way contract. So not only are they trying to find a roster spot for Kai Bowman, but they're trying to find a roster spot for Damian Lee as well. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's a situation where we could get both Burks and Glenn Robinson.
That'd be phenomenal, bro. We have 2 roster spots available. Like if we're still trying
they
to
both fit both of them, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Two second-round picks for Burks and Robinson, I think would be a good deal both ways. Then they could bring Bowman and Damian Lee up off of their 2-way contracts. That might be the top 2-way players in the entire NBA right now.
Yeah.
Guys that could possibly be a part of their future off the bench. They do a good job of developing players off the bench. Damian Lee and Kai Bowman have looked better than some of their late first-round picks, though, like Jacob Evans, Jordan Poole. Those guys haven't looked as good as Kai Bowman and Damian Lee, even though Lee and Bowman are on 2-way contracts. So they could be definitely looking to shed some of their veterans on minimum contracts. Guys like Glenn Robinson and Alec Burks. There's no guarantee they're back next year. There's a very good chance they're not on their team. So why not get a couple assets back and bring those 2-way guys up onto full-time contracts? I think they'd rather keep them than Robinson and Burks anyway, just because they're younger and kind of have similar production. So that's the team I'd look at. Take Bazemore out of the damn lineup because this dude just isn't getting it done. I love Kent Bazemore as a person, man. I like Terry Styles as a person. So like these criticisms aren't personal. You know what I mean? But they're paid millions of dollars to perform on an NBA court, and if they're not performing, it's not a bad thing to call these players out. Kent Bazemore is not performing. He's been inefficient all season long. The one thing he's supposed to do good is defend. The secondary thing he was supposed to be good at going into the season was playmaking a little bit. He hasn't playmade, and his defense has regressed throughout this season, and now he's been a poor defender. So if we could get 2 wings for a couple second-round picks, then we'd be a lot better team, in my opinion. We would have won this game if we didn't have Ken Bazemore, if we had like Glenn Robinson and Alec Burks. which is crazy because those guys were basically not wanted by anybody this past summer. That's the thing, too. We signed Mario Hezonja over those guys. Hezonja was signed far faster than either of those guys. We could have had Alec Burks or Glenn Robinson for a minimum contract, but we signed Mario Hezonja and Anthony Tolliver. I guess we needed like bigger forwards, but I don't understand that. Terry Stotts has not been good working around the margins with minimum contract guys in the past, I don't think.
Yeah, at the time we had Hood and Bazemore at our small forward. Maybe just thought they needed some depth behind Zach, some players who could play both the 3 and the 4 or the 4 and the 5.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, there's options out there at the power forward spot that you could probably find that were much better options. That's the thing is I've never really liked the way Terry Stotts has filled out the lineups. It always seems like it's almost like he's doing favors for agents. Getting a Hezonja, a guy like that. It's almost like he's not really like paying attention in a way.
Yeah. So I want to address a couple things Alvaro's saying. So he's asking if Hood has shown up to any of the games or why he wouldn't be. That year that West got hurt, he didn't come to a game until the playoffs. He came to like one game.
Yeah, and I think it's tough for those guys to like sit behind the bench or to even travel with that injury.
Yeah. I just had Achilles surgery a few months ago, and I was like pretty much down for a month and a half without even being able to like leave my bed very easily. And then after that, it was still a pain to like get around. So like I can't imagine how immobile you are in that situation where you tear it. So yeah, I don't think that's any sort of sign on his not wanting to be a part of the team or anything like that. I don't think you can read anything to that.
I mean, he came back for a pay cut. I don't think he'd be like that, so to say.
Yeah, and then Beavis says wheelchair. Well, like when you have a leg injury, it's uncomfortable to sit in a wheelchair because you're supposed to have it elevated, and it swells a lot and stuff if it's not elevated. So yeah, I don't think there's anything to read there. But the second part of his question was if Whiteside gets hurt, would that ruin his trade value? And I think you're on board with what I'm about to say is I don't think it changes it much at all, other than possibly a team that was going to need him for the rest of the season not being interested anymore.
His value lies in an expiring contract, so he'd still be an expiring contract even if he's hurt. He's probably going to get traded to a rebuilding team like a Chicago Bulls team or a Detroit Pistons team or a Cleveland Cavaliers and used his salary to match the incoming salary of like a Kevin Love, Blake Griffin, or Otto Porter Jr. Maybe as a team like the Timberwolves with Gorgie Jang and Robert Covington coming to Portland and Whiteside going out and them trying to like clear up cap space for next summer. So his trade value lies in his contract because there's not really a playoff team out there who needs a starting center who would also be willing to trade the salaries needed to match Hassan Whiteside, because the one team that I think would trade for a guy like Hassan Whiteside and value him as a player is the Boston Celtics, who do have a plethora of first-round picks as well, but they'd either have to trade Gordon Hayward or Marcus Smart to make that happen, and I don't think they'd be willing to trade either of those guys. Maybe Marcus Smart straight up, but the problem is Marcus Smart only makes $12 million. Hassan Whiteside makes $27 million. They'd have to trade out a little bit less than $22 million to match Whiteside's contract. Smart's only making 12, so they'd also have to trade out multiple role players off their bench. I just don't see them doing that on top of giving up a pick. It just doesn't make sense. So no team is going to value Whiteside, and I feel like if we trade Whiteside to a rebuilding team, they're not going to value him as a player because they won't have a team they can flip him to that would want him as a player, if that makes sense. So his value lies in his contract.
And he's asking if you can trade an injured player. I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah, you just waive the physical.
Yeah, the one exception is if we use the disabled player exception for Hood, I don't know if he becomes non-tradable the rest of the season. That might be the one exception, but it wouldn't be the case with Whiteside if he got hurt. So, but yeah, there's lots of teams that trade for just contracts or players. Heck, Iguodala hasn't even reported to his team this year yet, and they're going to be able to trade him if they want.
So that's the thing is I'm not really worried about Whiteside getting hurt, and I think we'll end up trading him. If we're competitive, if we're rebuilding, it makes sense to trade Whiteside. Regardless, like if we don't trade Whiteside, it'll be a mistake, no matter how well he plays, in my opinion. Honestly, like maybe it would. I don't know. I don't want to trade Nurk, and part of that is emotional attachment, and part of that is what I think Nurkic can be when he comes back. But I mean, like if we're gonna keep Whiteside, then
Mm-hmm.
then it almost makes sense to trade Nurkic, which is something I don't want to do. But like it makes no sense to keep both those guys because think about it. If you have both those guys, the most they can't play together. So you have 48 minutes at the center position. The best they could do is 24 minutes a game for each. Even somebody a little bit worse than Whiteside, if it's at a position where you can get them like 30 minutes per game at power forward or small forward over like a worse player, then you'd be say it's like an Otto Porter Jr. No, Whiteside's a little bit better than Otto Porter Jr. in my opinion, but if you got Otto Porter Jr., he takes Bazemore's minutes. Otto Porter Jr. plays 30 minutes per game, and then Yusuf Nurkic plays 30 minutes per game. That's better than having Bazemore play 30 minutes a game and Nurkic and Whiteside playing 24 minutes per game, and there possibly being tension there. And then the possibility of Whiteside walking in free agency. So even if it's straight up for a worse player, that's still a good trade for Portland. It literally makes no sense to keep him whatsoever. I don't even know how we got into that, but
the only way I'd disagree with that is this is kind of against the rules, even though up until this year people did it, but like if you worked it out with both Nurk and Whiteside and their agents that it was best for all of them moving forward and they were fine with being on the same roster and they would support it and be happy for each other and
it still makes no sense because then you have to limit both of them to 24 minutes per game where you could maybe get an upgrade over a worse position and then give Nurkic 30 minutes.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
It just makes no sense. So anyway.
So J.R. Smith and Jeff Green are both I don't want either of those guys.
Neither do I. Jeff Green's shooting under 39% from the field. He's shooting under 33% from three. He's not a good defender. People think he's a good defender. He's not a good defender. He's old. He's washed up. He literally provides no value whatsoever. He doesn't provide three-point shooting. He doesn't provide defense. He's literally a worse version of like a Kent Bazemore, if that makes sense. He's not good. J.R. Smith is I don't even want to get into that. I see people recommending him, but like J.R. Smith sucks defensively, and he was super inefficient 2 of the last 3 years of his career. Both those guys are just old and washed. I feel like people saw what we did with Melo and are like, oh, let's go get J.R. Smith now, and let's rehabilitate him and make him useful, and let's, take on Jeff Green. But the thing is, though, Melo was killing himself working out. Melo maybe in the best shape of his career. That's not the case for those two guys. It's not the case. Melo worked his ass off and was fresh coming back, and got into a situation that was perfect for him. He's still like somewhat inefficient, he's still he's still a map player, but he was better when he left than J.R. Smith and Jeff Green, than Jeff Green is now. So I don't want either of those guys. I mean, the only guy I'd support off the free agent market would be like a Kenneth Faried, and that's about it. And
so J.R. Smith kind of fits this role, but who knows how much shape he's in. But I think the Blazers need a backup wing or a starting wing.
That's why I'd like getting Burks and Robinson, because then that would be our starting and backup small forward.
Or a big. And Jeff Green is like a tweener small forward, power forward. He's not good at either of those positions, and he's kind of stuck in the middle. And he's not a good shooter this year. I mean, who knows? His true shooting percentage was pretty good the previous 2 years. So he could get back to that. I just don't see what his role is on this team with Melo in here already. We need more of a small forward that can play that role in the starting lineup, and I don't think Jeff Green or Melo could start at the small forward on this team, whereas Burks or Glenn Robinson could, I think. But Green's not like a big scorer off the bench like Burks could be or something either, and he's not a lights-out three-point shooter like Robinson could be. So I completely agree with you that that's just a waste of the roster spot, I think. Maybe if this was like last year and we had this issue and we were in a much better position to be a home court advantage team, you'd bring in a veteran like Jeff Green. But I just don't think he helps this particular team much So I wouldn't. I don't really think that's a good move.
Yeah. Yep. And we can discuss possible moves on a podcast. I feel
Yeah,
like that's more of a podcast type of thing. I feel like that's
I
pretty
got
much the main thing we talk about on our podcast.
I got to say something though,
Go ahead.
dude. It's weird. Like usually the YouTube feed's way behind.
Yeah.
Um, but like I'm hearing you in my headphones, and like a few seconds later, I'm seeing you say that on YouTube. It's so
It's
weird how
legit,
like
dude. Because
close to
that's the
live.
thing during the stream is like if the stream would lag, it would slow down, and we're still going at the same speed in reality. Of course we are, but the stream would like slow down, so then it would become even more behind. So dude, I'm loving this setup. I'm loving what we got. I have a little transition that I'm working on, so like I can transition between scenes, and we're about to do
Oh,
our
cool.
around the NBA segment. I'm gonna use ESPN, and I'm actually gonna like pull up the scores on ESPN.
Oh,
Like I'm
cool.
gonna pull up my displays, so like there'd be transition between like those scenes that'll look cool. I don't have that ready yet, but I've been putting in work on it. And then I'll possibly have two cameras connected, so it'd be cool to have like a second angle, which I wouldn't really use, but like you know when I go live. I'm tying my shoe right now, by the way. That's why I'm leaning over. I don't know why I'm tying my shoe. I'm indoors. But anyway, it was on and it was untied. It was bothering me.
I got a question for you.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Why does it seem like the Blazers in almost every game that they've had multiple days off before the game come out flat in that game this
Yeah, I
year?
don't understand. It's like their lack of energy isn't because of fatigue. It's a mental thing. It's a mental thing because
Yeah.
if it was fatigue, they would do better if they have more days off. But that's not the case. It's worse. So that's a great question. It's just a mental thing. It's just a lack of focus, lack of urgency thing. And I don't know why that's a thing this year. It's worse this year than in past years. I'd love to get to the bottom of it, but I've heard Dame say so many times, we just gotta come out and give better effort. And it's like, why aren't you guys giving better effort? Why aren't you guys just playing 100%? Like, why? I don't understand what the deal is with that. It makes no sense. Like, it's just they're not playing inspired enough, and I don't understand why. I have no I don't even have an opinion on it really because I literally don't understand why that wouldn't be the case. I'd go out there,
And
I'd bust my ass.
Beavis is saying you'd be winded in Salt Lake right now. The air is horrible. But it's not just this game. It's like, so I went and looked. So, um,
They gave their best effort in the fourth quarter. So
yeah.
it doesn't make sense, and it's in other games too. It's not just Salt Lake. It's in games in Portland, games on the road at sea level. It's not an altitude thing.
So I went back and looked while we were on the stream. We're 2-5 in games where we've had multiple days before the game, if you include the opening night loss to Denver.
Yeah.
And so one of those wins was at San Antonio, where we got off to that good start with ball movement and stuff like that. And that was the one outlier where you could say, wow, look at this team with a couple of days off to practice. Like, this looks great. And then, like,
But
we
then
haven't really
we
seen
gave
that
up
team
that
since.
lead and ended up
Yeah.
down like 15 or something
Yeah.
like that, then came back. So there was a stretch there where we literally had no effort and like there was like a 35 or 40 point swing. So there's
And then
not consistent energy. Yeah.
Then the other win was the one where we got down big in the first half to the Suns without Devin Booker and came back and won by one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. The other 5 games, all losses with multiple days off. And like,
that's a great
how are we not prepared for games where we have multiple days off? I mean, today you could make the excuse like maybe he gave the team a couple days off for Christmas and stuff like that. But like when you're in the NBA, you just got to kind of assume that you have to make sacrifices in these situations. And if you're not willing to sacrifice it, you come out looking like this. So I'm guessing they probably had the last couple of days off, and this is how they came out.
I don't understand. That's a great point. You should tweet that out with that context. Just because NBA Blazer Twitter needs to pay more attention to these types of things. Because that's a great statistical find there. But anyway, let's talk around the NBA. Let's get into around the NBA. So I'm going to let's see here. Studio mode, boom. Whoops, where's it at? Not that. There we go. All right, so around the NBA, let me see how that's looking. I'm gonna figure out how to maybe use a better screen for this, but you guys can kind of see what I'm scrolling on here. So anyway, let's look at this first game. We got the Pistons beating the Wizards by 30. We had Bradley Beal only dropping 13 in the loss in only 24 minutes. I don't know if he got hurt or something, but he didn't have any fouls, so I'm curious why he only played 24 minutes.
Maybe they're just getting blown out, yeah.
Yeah, they were down 68 to 48 at halftime, so maybe that's why. But off their bench, man, their leading scorer tonight was Pasecniks. Because we talked about him, I think, on our last post-game stream. He was a first-round pick a couple years ago in 2017. He was taking a couple draft picks after Anfernee Simons. He was taken by the 76ers, who had like a ton of second-round picks. I think they had multiple first-round picks that year, so they tend to draft a lot of overseas guys and stash them just because they have so many picks and they don't have enough roster space to fill all those picks. So they need guys that they can stash overseas. So they took Pasecniks. This summer, he wanted to come to the NBA, but the Sixers didn't have room for him, so they had to release him. Even though it was a first-round pick and a first-round pick, they had to let him go, let him walk, and then he ended up signing a two-way deal with the Washington Wizards, and he's had some good games. He had 17 points tonight in 24 minutes, 17 and 6, on 7 for 11 shooting. So what a find by the Wizards. That's a guy I wish we signed because this dude can play. Even though nobody knows his name, this dude can play, and this dude could end up being a starting center someday. And it's just an interesting story. The Wizards have done a good job of finding guys. They're in such a weird spot because they have John Wall out. John Wall's not going to be the same player when he comes back. Achilles injury. They re-signed Bradley Beal. You know, they're not trading him. They're not going the full rebuild route, but they've like reshuffled everything around that. But they've found young players that can help them win right now. You look at a Rui Hachimura, who didn't play right now, or didn't play tonight. He's my guy from Gonzaga.
They just picked up Gary Payton off the street. And he had 10, 5, and 5.
Yeah, Gary Payton's been playing well.
Double the other night too.
Yeah, so I mean, like that's another guy, I guess. But you look at Hachimura, you look at Wagner, who they got in a trade from the Lakers. The Lakers made that trade so they could have max cap space for Kawhi Leonard. It was this weird thing this summer. I'm not even going to try to explain that. It was very complicated. But they basically, to try and have cap space for Kawhi Leonard after trading for Anthony Davis, they didn't make the trade go through right away. So they had to match salary for Anthony Davis because they were going to try and sign Kawhi Leonard, then go over the salary cap by... Because that's the thing, if you're under the salary cap, you don't have to match salary. Like, you can absorb that salary into your salary cap space, but if you end up over the salary cap after the trade's done, you have to match salary. So I think they were getting back like $30 million and only trading out $24 million. So they, you know, since they were... That helped them have max cap space for Kawhi Leonard, if that makes sense. I said I wasn't going to get into it. That was like the easiest way I could explain it. Probably doesn't make sense, but it was very interesting this past summer. So they ended up giving up on Wagner. The Wizards jumped in, took him. Wagner's been terrific for them. He's the big guy from Michigan. He's had a second-year jump. He's been terrific. They got Thomas Bryant last year, who's also on the Lakers and didn't do anything on the Lakers his rookie season, then ends up in Washington, and he's like a legit starting center. Hachimura is looking like a good pick. That dude's been playing well. They got Pasecniks off the bench now. They had Jonathan Williams from Gonzaga off the bench. I didn't even realize he was on their team. He played 33 minutes, had 9 points on 4 for 6 shooting with 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block, and no turnovers. So that's like a solid game by Jonathan Williams. They have Pasecniks. You know, I mean, they have all these guys. Gary Payton the second. They have all these guys. They're just no-name guys that are kind of stepping in for them and like playing much better than expected. So it's just very strange. Usually you might see that with a rebuilding team, but like that's just a weird team, in my opinion.
It's not the case anymore, but for like several years, whenever you search for Pasecniks, it would show up with him in the Blazer uniform from his workout. That's strange.
Oh yeah. Oh, from his workout. Gotcha.
Yeah, so it doesn't anymore because he never played in the NBA until now. So like it was always that picture, and it was weird. But it's
this is our guy Blake Griffin, 14 points. 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 for 11 shooting, looks good. 0 for 6 from the 3-point line. His 3-point shot struggled this year. If we trade for him, hopefully he can get it back. But right now his trade value is is plummeting, and Detroit's 12-20, so I think they might go that rebuild route. I'd still be on board with a Blake Griffin trade. Honestly, it wouldn't take that much at this point because he's really struggled. Tim Frazier, good old Tim Frazier with 17, Christian Wood with 22. That was a blowout win for the Pistons.
Wood's another guy I wish we would have.
Oh, I know. Isn't he on a minimum contract?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's a guy at your 4 or 5 can play either. He's getting he has a true shooting percentage like 65%, so insanely efficient from the 3-point line, from the 2-point line, can take guys off the dribble. He's getting 2 blocks a game or close to it, I think, or maybe 2 blocks per 36 minutes. Like, his defense has improved. That was the knock on him coming out of UNLV. He went undrafted, even though he's projected as a late first-round pick a couple of years ago, but he's shown why he should have been a late first-round pick. I think there's questions about his character, but he hasn't had any troubles in the NBA. That's a guy we should have signed instead of a Mario Hezonja, because he could be our backup for right now and would be a terrific player to have because he's been phenomenal. He's one of the most underrated, unknown bigs in the entire NBA. Knicks beat the Nets 94-82.
Right.
You had 33 from Julius Randle, 22 from Marcus Morris. That's the thing. They have guys on the Knicks, even though they're 8-24. They have guys that can have big games. Nope, not going to listen to that ad. But you have guys that can really have big games for them. But holding the Nets to only 82. Kyrie still isn't back. Still surprised he hasn't returned yet. Spencer Dinwiddie had 25 points on 5 for 15 shooting. Got to the line 17 times. But really nothing noticeable for the Nets. So that's a bad loss. That was in Barclays Center, so in Brooklyn, but that was kind of like a half and half game because obviously they're both from New York City. Gotta go back. Let's see here. Do you guys like seeing the scoreboard and the stats and stuff on the screen? Let me know. Let me know if you guys like this.
I thought I saw something today that Kyrie wasn't even cleared for doing anything yet. It
seemed like a day-to-day injury. I think that's kind of how they announced it at first, and then he's been out for, a month now? Something crazy. Dallas Mavericks win at home. They were led by Doncic, who has returned. He had 24 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. I hate the Mavericks doing well. I don't know why I hate the Mavericks, but I hate the Mavericks. I wish Luka Doncic was on an Eastern Conference team so I could like him. But
we're flipped this year. They should be where we're at, and it feels like they haven't earned it yet.
Yep. Yep.
We should. Yeah.
I mean, they have role players that I feel like are overperforming. I don't know. I just don't feel like they're this good, man. I don't know. God, it sucks. But Spurs still struggling, 12-18. Are you eating?
Nope.
You're eating. Bro. I can't. I'm gonna have to mute you or something, bro.
I'm done.
All right, cause I hear that, and it's heard like you were eating noodles or something.
Wasn't noodles, but yeah.
What were you eating?
It was like a roast with carrots and potatoes.
I should get my face cam on here. That's the thing. I'll improve this in the future. I'll get my face cam on here or something. But 21 for DeRozan, 17 for Aldridge. Spurs are probably going to trade both of those guys, I think. I think it's time for them to hit the real rebuild button. I think they want to keep their playoff streak going. But at this point, they're not going to make the playoffs. They're worse than we are somehow. Here we go. We got Grizzlies beating the Thunder, 110-97. Grizzlies have been okay this year. They're 12-20. John Morant, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Usually I look at his stat line at first because he's had some big games.
Westbrook, hopefully not to us.
Yeah. Valanciunas, 21 for Jackson had 20. Schroeder is 20 off the bench. He's been a lot more efficient this year than he has in past years. He actually might be the leader for 6th man of the year. Maybe even over Lou Williams. Probably not over Lou Williams. Lou Williams is getting 19 a game. The thing is, Lou Williams is a top 5. I don't know. There's just something about playing the better player at a position off the bench. There's a mediocre shooting guard, but you start him like a Shamet or something, and then you bring Lou Williams off the bench, even though he's the better player. There's something different about that compared to having Dennis Schroeder, who's not the best point guard on his team. He can really only play point guard, so he's a 6th man. Nope. Let's keep playing. Schroeder's has to be the sixth man because he's the second best point guard on his team, but he's still balling out. I don't know. There's just a difference to me with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Compared to a Montrezl Harrell being behind Zubac, even though he's better. I don't know. I feel like that should be a factor in the voting. Chat, you guys let me know if you think so or not. But last game we had today, we had... If this thing will load for me... Come on, new computer, struggling. We had the Timberwolves knocking off the Kings in double overtime. The score was only 105 to 104, even though they played 58 minutes. So that's a low-scoring affair there. But Gorgie Jang had 21 and 15 with 2 steals and a block. So that's funny, Eric. Eric knows why that's funny. But I got into an argument with somebody on Twitter saying that he thought Gorgie Jang was Luol Deng. And based on how Gorgie Jang played against us, he kind of struggled. He was saying that Jang needs to retire, and therefore Portland shouldn't trade for him, as if trading for him wasn't just going to be to take on his bad contract in order to get Covington without a pick. Because I've talked about that trade a lot. You guys probably know that trade. Whiteside for Covington and Jang. Could be a possibility. We keep our picks. We take on Jang's bad contract, and he can kind of be a backup center for us. And then we get Covington in the process. It might take a little bit more than that from our end, but I was advocating that trade, and I had this guy arguing me on Twitter about how bad of a trade that was because Jang is just so bad. But the thing is, we wouldn't be making the trade for Jang. But it was just funny because he was arguing about how washed up Deng was. He was confusing him for Luol Deng. He's he's been in the league for 15 seasons. He needs to retire because he mixed them up. But Jang tonight, 21 points, 15 rebounds. I don't think he needs to retire because that's a really good stat line. He still had some good games. He'd be a good, serviceable backup center for us if we did make that trade. It's funny how they're bringing Jeff Teague off the bench now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Ads keep playing on me. No, I don't want to hear that music. But we had 20 from Rashawn Holmes, 20 and 18 rebounds. He's been fantastic. He played 45 minutes for the Kings. So anyway, that was around the NBA. We'll improve that segment to make it look better on the screen. But anyway, there you guys go. That's the scores from around the league for tonight. I will definitely be working on improving that segment, just like I'll be working on improving this stream in general, now that I got this set up and that I can actually do some of these things. So,
Trevin saying that Evan M on Twitter is saying how the Blazers are a 14 and 18 team based on talent. And
that's ridiculous.
I completely disagree.
There we go. I closed it. All right, there we go. No more ads. Anyway, go ahead.
Dame missed what? 2 games? He missed the Pelicans game and the...
Yeah. This is not a 14... Man, I hate that dude's takes. I don't... I think he might have blocked me or something, or I unfollowed him. Maybe I blocked... I don't know. I can't stand that dude's takes. Don't follow that guy, man. I hate how the people with the following on Blazers Twitter are always the people with the worst takes. I've gotten into arguments with him. He was trying to tell me about how... I think it was him. He was trying to tell me about how trash Seth Curry was last year and how we're not, we're going to be a borderline playoff team because we have nobody off the bench who can do anything because Seth Curry's trash, blah, blah. I think that it might not have been him. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it was him. And he's still doing the same thing now. He obviously didn't learn. There's just people out here who just trash our talent, trash our roster, and then get mad at me for being too negative towards Terry Stotts. You're too negative about Terry Stotts. The roster just sucks. The roster is just 14 and 18 roster. Even if they just suck, man. They need the guys they had hurt because everybody else sucks. So don't be so negative about Terry Stotts. It's you're being a little bit hypocritical there. I'm higher on this roster than that guy apparently because this is not a 14 and 18 roster. With these injuries, we should at least be 18 and 14. We're 3 and 4 against teams with less than 10 wins. We had a better roster than the Pelicans, better roster than the Cavs, better roster than the Golden State Warriors when they didn't have Russell and Draymond Green. We had a better roster than I don't know who else. There's another team in there who we lost to that was terrible. I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, the Pelicans. We lost to the Pelicans twice. Yeah. And then we needed overtime to beat the Atlanta Hawks, who might be the worst team in the league right now. They didn't even have John Collins. We needed overtime to beat them at home. No, this is not. We gave up we didn't play we played the Sixers. They didn't have Joel Embiid, and we had that game in the bag until we completely pissed away the last defensive possession. That's 6 games we had the talent to win. That's 6 games we should have won. So we should be 20-12 right now. We have the talent to be 20-12 right now because those 6 losses, we didn't lose those because of the talent we had out there on the floor. And the thing is, you could say, oh, well, sometimes we win games that we shouldn't. No, we don't. We have 1 win against a winning team this year. So it's not like there's games where that we've played where it's like, oh, we beat a team even though we had less talent than them. There's no games like that this year. We have 1 game against a winning team. We have 6 games that we should have won that we didn't lose because we had less talent on the floor. We were more talented than teams that we've lost to, or we've pissed away a final possession, let Furkan freaking Korkmaz get a wide open 3 in the corner to win Philadelphia the game when we were up 1. So I see takes like that. They're just so misinformed. It's typical of he's had that take in the past. It's just devoid of context. I just provided the proper context there. I don't know how you could say this is a 14-18 roster if you actually consider that context, because even if you think this roster sucks, I don't know how you'd say this team is worse than Cleveland or New Orleans or Golden State without Russell and Draymond Green. It makes no sense, man.
Yeah, and so basically, I hate the people who think Dame is a great point guard and our backcourt is one of the best backcourts in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And then we got Hassan playing awesome, but we don't have any talent.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I can maybe understand the argument that the roster isn't very balanced. Our wing situation is really bad right now after Hood went down, but
we still got Dame, CJ, and Whiteside, and Melo's been solid.
And Hood played half the season. It's not like we didn't have him from the jump, and we lost a bunch of games that we would have won if we had him, because Hood was there for half those games, if not more, than you just listed.
And we got a replacement for Collins and Melo that we wouldn't have had if Collins didn't go down. Collins is better, obviously, but Melo is a serviceable replacement. And then we got a center in Hassan Whiteside, who's playing great right now, might be playing just as well as Yusuf Nurkic would play for us. So that's the thing, man. This is proof, chat, that there is a lot of people out there with followings on Twitter that will completely contradict themselves, completely stretch things in order to not blame Terry Stotts. Okay? They'll say this is a 14-18 roster in terms of talent, even though it's devoid of proper context, which I just provided for you. This is not a 14-18 roster. The injuries thing, they avoid proper context. We're 14-18 because we're missing 3 of 5 starters, even though we got a Carmelo, who I think is an okay starting level player right now for Zach Collins. We had Rodney Hood for half these games in terms of us going 14-18. And then we have a starting center in place of Yusuf Nurkic. Nah, these guys will have these surface level takes and just avoid proper context in order to put in, and they'll never put any single shred of blame or criticism or anything towards Terry Stotts. It doesn't make sense, man. It doesn't make sense. I'm the only person. I mean, maybe there's a couple people out there that I'm forgetting right now, but I'm the only person I can think of that has a platform that speaks honestly about this type of stuff, that provides proper context, that's truly objective. It drives me crazy, man. My goal is to completely change the way. I want to grow my following. Eric, I want to grow your following. We need some people out there with followings on Twitter to speak against this crap, because it's ridiculous.
See, if you took Hazonia, because Randall Pink Floyd just said it's a 2-32 roster if we start Mario and Tolliver. If you started Mario and Tolliver this entire season with Dame and CJ and Whiteside, I still don't think it's that much worse than 11 or whatever we are. What's our record now? 14-18.
Yep.
If we started a roster from the beginning of the season with Dame, CJ, Hazonia, Tolliver, and Whiteside, I don't know if we'd be any different. You know what I mean? It's not 14. It's not that much worse than 14 and 18 if you have Dame and CJ and Whiteside, right?
Yeah.
with any two NBA players on that roster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And our team is set up to do as well. Like, it doesn't really matter how good the rest of the team is. Our team relies on Dame and CJ to go crazy, and one of those guys has to play well usually to win a game. And so, like, it doesn't really matter what the talent level of the roster is as long as you have those two guys, because our whole game plan is to try and let those guys take over a game. So,
Sir 3255. I don't want to get back. We've already criticized Thoughts a bunch, you know. I mean, like, if people want to hear like the truth, then they could go watch this back. But Sir 3255 says, "Dude, none of this stuff is properly objective from any side. It's all opinion. We go further in depth than anybody out there. I'll say that with confidence, because I know it's true. We go deeper. We go further in depth than anybody out there. I think we're more objective than anybody. Maybe that's us being, you know, too confident or whatever. Maybe some people say, oh, you're just being too cocky. No, like I try to be as objective as possible. These people, I don't even think they try. I don't go into a game thinking, okay, I'm just going to try and search for whatever I can criticize Terry Stotts about. I go into games with a fresh mind, and then I see things that happen over and over and over again, and it's like, Terry Stotts, not the head coach for me. He's not a good head coach in my opinion. And that's because of what I see out there on the floor. It's not like I'm searching for that. It's not like I'm biased and I hate Terry Stotts. I really like Terry Stotts as a person. I wish he was a better coach. And I'm objective, man. I think I'm objective, and I think you're not giving me enough credit. I don't think you're giving Eric enough credit.
And you broke down earlier why, like, the pick and roll scheme is bad when a team's hot from three. You don't see those guys doing that. They just be like, well, Stotts made the Western Conference Finals last year. Yep. You know, that's all they can say. Or like,
so that's the thing.
If he doesn't have the talent.
If they were going into depth, then fine. Okay, we're talking about legitimate basketball, not just surface level stuff. The surface level stuff just drives me crazy, man. Drives me crazy. But the people who watch me day in day out, I feel like they know what I'm about, and I appreciate those people for like giving me support. But I also like feel like, you know, I mean, like, I have support because I am consistent. I say what's on my mind, and I'm objective, and I try and go into depth, and other people won't. So, you know, I try and provide them better content than everything else out there based on those factors.
And
that's how I look at it.
I'll give my disclaimer again.
Yeah.
If Stotts is not thinking and talking about the stuff that we are talking about in these post-game shows, then he is not a good coach. So he should not, like, he should be thinking every game, like, why should I continue to do this defense against Utah when they're killing me off this pick and roll scheme? Like, if he's not analyzing himself as a coach and being critical like we are, then he shouldn't be coaching in the NBA, I don't think.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've studied the game a ton. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough because I don't use my playing experience, like, hardly at all. And I made a tweet kind of about it, but I don't use it because people would, like, flip that back. I'll be like, oh, you think that's comparable to playing in the NBA, whatever. A lot of it actually is. Defensive rotations and stuff. NBA, they're just far more skilled, far more athletic, bigger, stronger, faster. You know what I mean? But, like, stuff like defensive rotations are the same. Pick and roll schemes are the same. I played a little bit of college ball. I know these things. I've also watched hours upon hours of clinics from NBA head coaches, like assistant coaches on YouTube, to learn about these things directly from coaches at that level. Okay? What other people you know out there with a radio show or whatever what other people you know out there that are who do you know that's doing that other than me? Maybe Eric. I don't know. I spent a lot of time studying the game, and you can go ahead.
So Mario Hazonia actually has a good point too. So when was the last time you heard Stotts after a game say, you know what, this is on me. I had a bad game plan for this one. I didn't have the team prepared or whatever. Instead, it's like, oh, well, you know, we came back. We just missed some shots. They hit some at the end. You know, like, it's, I don't really see him ever blaming himself for any of these mistakes.
Yeah.
And I know some people, it's just not, they just don't like to do that publicly. So that might be it. But, like, he brings up Mike Malone, who like you could tell he's PO'd at his team and wants to like go off on them, but he'll like just say, you know
Yeah.
what, I need to do a better job coaching and all that stuff. Like I don't really hear the kind of accountability from Stutz.
Yep. Yep. I don't even listen to him hardly at all because it's just the same recycled stuff. Jake Carey, I know you do. I was just talking about like people with a platform. People with a platform. Because no, I don't know. I feel like if you're a guy doing radio covering the Portland Trailblazers and like, you know, maybe you're not allowed to say what you want to say because you're employed by the Portland Trailblazers, but I feel like if you have a job like that, I feel like it's kind of your responsibility to try and educate yourself as much as possible. I don't feel like a lot of these people do it, and it's been something that bothered me for years. That's why I like having my own platform now. I don't feel like these guys truly try and educate themselves as much as possible. They're not sitting, you know, they're not doing the proper research to like truly have a basketball discussion. That's why it annoys me when like they will just have surface level takes, because like if you really knew what you're talking about, you maybe would throw out, okay, the defensive rotations are bad or something like that. I don't hear stuff like that, and that's what annoys me. Just as somebody that's like had to learn these things to be on the floor playing college basketball. Like we did scrambled drills, we did rotation drills, like the stuff that the Blazers obviously need to do more of, stuff like that. Like my playing experience and then like me studying the game, I've learned a lot about basketball. I feel like I've learned enough where I truly know enough to objectively criticize the coaching at an NBA level. Some people don't think I do. That's a difference of opinion, but I don't even know how we got onto that. Anyway.
Well, so JDC, Jake, he does do a great job of he'll break down sets and players and stuff like that. I do enjoy hearing his takes, even though you and I don't always agree with some of them. I do like that he actually takes the time to research stuff and
if that was like Chad doing that,
right,
I can respect that. Even though we disagree, I can respect that. But the other people with followings on Twitter, there's really nobody else on YouTube that analyzes basketball. But like the people on Twitter, the people in media, I feel like they don't do that. So that's what I don't like about the way the team is covered. So if there was people, you know, if Chad doing, you know, writers at Blazers Edge, whatever, if guys were like Jake in that regard, then I'd respect it. The thing is, you can kind of tell. Like I follow Nate Mann. If you guys don't follow Nate Mann, follow Nate Mann. Just search Nate, Nate, and then Mann, Mann. You should be able to find him. He tweets out stuff about the Blazers, and he like, you can tell by the way he tweets that he knows the game. Like he understands the game. And he doesn't, you know, I don't see him really go out of his way to like say anything necessarily bad about Stotts. It'll just more be about stuff the team might not be doing properly, that type of thing. But he's a writer at Blazers Edge. But like I feel like he like